barring a stop at Buc-ee's. He had about 20 minutes to it. All right, have a great flight, drive safely, and we'll see you on your return. You know, one of these days, we're going to get a check from them. All the plugs they get.
Buc-ee's,
yeah. You know, I mean,
for real. I was actually wondering when you said that. I was like, you guys, they advertising?
You know, listen, I just go for free stuff.
Right.
You know, a free brisket every once in a while.
Yeah, it's one of those places it's kind of a landmark where you can tell people where something is by its proximity to Buc-ee's.
Also, right. If you have kids, right, I plan road trips by bathroom stops, right?
Yeah.
With kids. And Buc-ee's, dude, they keep it clean.
Yeah.
I mean, it is clean. Look, I took 2 little boys in there, and as soon as we were, done doing washing hands, all that, there's a dude going, he cleans it all up.
Yep.
And I was like, I mean, it wasn't a mess or anything, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
he disinfects everything. It's
like,
right behind you, man. This
like,
is great.
Wow.
I agree. I do like their barbecue.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, Dave's like, I got like my guitars.
Yeah. I bet they might let you stand out front of the door and play your guitar too by the Buc-ee's statue.
By the Buc-ee's, by the Big Beaver.
You never know. It could be like Wonderful Wednesday or Music Mondays or something like that.
That's
true. But anyway, yeah, I know about the. You get my age too. You always plan your trip based on the bathroom.
Fair.
You kind of come full circle,
I mean, I tell you, I hate traveling on Sundays because Chick-fil-A's closed.
I know they have the best. They have some of the best restaurants.
They take care of it.
Yeah, McDonald's is always proud of themselves, and most of them, pretty clean there.
Right.
All right, this is not food talk or restroom talk. Or well, it's about news.
Food Talk Friday with Tony McIntosh.
It could be in the toilet. Who knows?
Right.
But we've got a lot of things happening. Where do we start? John Bailey, Rome News Tribune, David Crowder, our WRGA news director. It's been a busy. We've never had a bad, slow week in news since January 1st, have we, guys? It's been every week. It's just fun.
There's been many days where I got up and I walked in. I looked at it and I was like, okay, what are we doing? What's gonna? And then and yet there have been no days where I've been like, man, we ain't got nothing to put in the newspaper.
Well, let's start. I tell you what, let's start with some legislation that is beneficial for everybody. The governor's tax rebate thing got approved.
Right.
And so hopefully the Reach Fund checks in some form or another will be coming back to Georgia taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's some other legislation, I guess, that really kind of affects this area?
Well, more of the whole state, but with our legislators. So Senator Chuck Hufstetler has been kind of pushing for tax credit, taking a look at the tax credits offered by Georgia, and, is there any wasteful spending, that kind of stuff. And it kind of got spelunked isn't the right word, slam dunked last year, when he pushed it back against some House legislation. But it looks like it's moving again this year. So, that's additional potentially trimming off or looking at, in his view, better use of our tax credit dollars, right? And so that's one of the things. Film industry's one of the biggest that they've talked about because, it has those tax credits have lent themselves to creating Georgia as a film powerhouse. I mean, obviously, we've seen that here recently, locally. Stranger Things, Black Widow. There's plenty more, but that's just off the top of my head. Recently, and so that's a benefit, right, to the state. But also at the same time, the concern is, are we just throwing this stuff out there and not actually getting a financial benefit out of it? And so they want to just take a closer look at that. And so that looks like it's moving. What else we have? I know we've got a number of things. It looks like sports betting got shot down in the city.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was going to breeze through there for a minute.
It looked like it had a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
But this would be it looked like the nose and the guys that are essentially saying, hey, this should be a constitutional amendment, because there was that whole argument whether or not it should have to make that constitutional amendment threshold, right? Or whether it's just a normal vote. And if it's just a normal vote, majority rules, then that's a lot easier to make than, I think, 2/3. I could be wrong on that. And so, wham, it got shot down. Looks like the guys that were no's and the guys that were like it should be a constitutional amendment got together and just stomped on it.
Yeah, and that legislation was backed by, the professional sports teams in the state. There were a lot of people behind that legislation.
I mean, I'm not really for it or against it, if you want to know the truth. But I mean, that arguing for it, that's a lot of untapped extra funding of tax revenue. I'm sorry, that would also go through the Georgia lottery.
Right.
Against it, there's a lot of concerns about the backlash of gambling, what it does to families, what it does to people's finances, et cetera, et cetera.
And it also,
what it did to Pete Rose.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Pete Rose.
he'd be banned from the Hall of Fame forever, or sport. But also,
we could talk about that one for a while.
Yeah.
I just want to strike off on that topic. I think we could jump in on that.
But you've got also some outside influences, maybe some influences from outside the state that might infiltrate in with like the legal. And with the illegal activity, possibly getting more and more involved in the state and some things like that. That's always. I mean, just ask Louisiana.
But does that already happen? Dun dun dun.
Well, I'm sure it does. We just don't hear about it as much.
Right. That's right, Tony.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
going to keep it that way.
Just ask Louisiana. I mean, you can call our friend Dave Butler
Sorry,
and
I'm
ask him
coming from
about
New York. That's right, Tony.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
gonna keep it that way.
All right, let's see. Speed cameras. That's becoming kind of a fixture around here, and I know the one on MLK now is up and running and has been. I don't know. I think it's slowing traffic down a little bit. I mean that area of that speed zone anyway is kind of a slower speed zone,
right,
versus the one on the bypass,
right.
Which I got to tell you, sometimes you just forget that it's there.
Yeah.
And you look down at your speedometer and it says, "Ooh, 65." I might want to, just back off a little before I get to the camera.
Coming down MLK from the city going out.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Coming back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually gotten a ticket right there.
You're coming down that hill.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and
You just gotta be
you're just
aware
not
of
thinking
it.
about it once you
Yeah,
get that speed. And so, yeah, that's the argument, right? They're changing people's habits through their wallet.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of complaints about the cameras aren't calibrated, or they're giving whatever. Right? There's been a lot of that. There were people that went before the county commission specifically talking about the emergency speed camera. I know several people have spoken to me about Maine. What's weird? I never heard much of anything about the one near Rome High,
Right.
on the loop.
I think everybody's used to it. I mean,
It could
they're used
well
to
be.
Yeah,
Could be.
and it took a while to get used to
It
it.
did.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
But we're definitely hearing that the police, have said, okay, we've got, we've listened, we've double checked them. If it's off, no, the tickets aren't issued that day, or they're pulled out, and essentially, if you want to challenge it, this is their words, there's court.
Yeah.
You always have that option, but they feel that they have done their due diligence, and the county commission and from what I understand, the city also feel that same way.
Well, the bottom line is, if you're traveling, you just need to be aware there's a school there and there's a school zone. You need to pay attention to your driving. That is the easiest thing.
I'm human and have made that mistake without question.
Sometimes
But
you
I
just,
agree.
we're all guilty of just kind of, you're out daydreaming, you're paying attention to the road, but are you really paying attention as to where you are?
Yeah.
I'll be honest too. I've been, driving through one of the school zones, and I take the speed down to get it within the limit, and somebody flies past me. I just kind of smile to myself a little bit, saying, "You're going to get a ticket."
Okay, so say the time I got the ticket in that school zone, police officer pulls me over. I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you were going through a school zone. I was like, fair. I was like, absolutely. I get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess it kind of almost been argued at so much that he's waiting for an argument. I fully support that. We need to be careful in those areas. There are places where you can't just blow through with your car.
Yeah.
Should be Broad Street. You know what I mean?
Just have a little, and they got the new speed bumps on Broad Street. They put them in. They've been there for a little while, but that's been kind of a recent thing, I guess, over the last couple of months.
Speaking of Broad Street parking,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the 3-hour limit thing is gone for a while.
Which, with a couple of these committee meetings I covered this week, I'm glad there was no parking limit on Broad Street. Because a couple of them lasted a while.
Oh, wow.
But,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that having to cover a court case.
I used to.
I just don't. I like if it's raining, I get somebody to drop me off and pick me up, and otherwise I just walk from the newspaper because I know I'm there all day.
Yeah.
I think over the course of 1 year, I got like 3 tickets for parking at the courthouse.
Okay, so the craziest parking ticket I've gotten downtown was I stopped to pick up police reports, right, the law enforcement center, and when I pulled in, you're supposed to what I learned, I didn't know, is you're supposed to go flow of traffic how you pull into. Well, I pulled in the other way.
Oh,
right,
yeah, the parallel parking.
Parked it, right? Wham. I'm there I swear 15 minutes because I'm not trying to stay in there too long. I come out and I got a ticket. It was like $10 or something. So it was just fair, but I got to learn something for $10. So there you go.
Yeah, parking the wrong way on the street.
That.
Yeah,
right.
That's happened. I got a warning.
Oh, okay.
Because I was there about the same time getting in my car as the enforcement officer was there, and I knew him. I said, I didn't realize that's illegal.
Were you using your media elite influence?
No, I just knew the guy. I knew him from many years ago, and I said, I didn't realize that was a violation. He goes, yeah, it is. He said, don't do it again. I mean, I was the only car in the
No.
whole
I mean, same, exactly the same. It's not like there were any other cars. I just whipped in, jumped out,
but
got reports.
I had no idea.
I'm glad we are talking about this, so people definitely know that media does not get special treatment.
No,
we get tickets too.
Yeah,
while we're working.
Yeah,
let me tell you. First night on the job. First night on the job, I go. There's a big fire. It's in South Rome. I'm out covering it. It's on deadline, so it's like 11 p.m.
Yeah,
and I park. I get out. I talk to some firefighters. I talk to the captain. I take some pictures. I got my editor the whole time. Where you at? Get back here now. What's going on? Some. We're on deadline. Get that story in. I was like, all right. So I go to leave, and my car hits something. I like to do, and I'm like, what is that? And what I had done was, after I gotten there, the fire crew and whatever had gone around to the hydrant and around my car and run the line around my car, and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, no.
I drove the fire hose. Right? By the way, if you do that, or at least 20 years ago, that was a $90 ticket, which was, by the way, the exact amount I made that first night. So
the night paid for itself. It was net zero.
Absolutely. Because I hit it and I felt my car going. I was like, oh, it must be like a curb or whatever.
Now, did the fire department give you the ticket?
No. It was a real police officer.
Oh, okay.
It was totally fair. I mean, I did it. There's no point. I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
It's the little things you don't realize that are a violation. I mean, it's some of it. Well, you get but you say, oh, really? I didn't know that. I mean, it would take us forever to figure out all the different traffic regulations. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Well, and the police officer did say, he goes, hey, you drove over a fire hose. I was like, what? Yeah. He's like, yeah. I was like,
but by getting that ticket,
back and there it is, right? It's in the road.
That's the cost of education. That's the cost of education. Because by getting that ticket, now you know. And
I knew.
We've shared with everyone.
$90. I know that for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And you'll
if
never
I
do
could
it
pay
again.
that amount of money just for that lesson for so many other dumb things I've
what
done.
do? You'll come back and say, hey, can you guys move this hose? I got to leave.
And that was it. That was really, there was no leak. It was a pretty significant
Why were you
fire,
parked so
too.
close to a fire hydrant, though?
I wasn't paying attention. It's my first night on the job, Tony. It's pitch black where I was at. I didn't even see it.
Oh,
literally, I did not see the fire hose.
All right.
When I drove over it, I seriously thought, I was like, oh, this street needs repaving or something, man. Somebody should talk to the city. Something like that. I'm sure that was something I thought.
That was something you said. All right.
I was like, man, that pothole was significant.
Well, coming up very, very quickly here, of course, Senator Ossoff is going to be in town today. He's got a news conference at 11 at Atrium Health Floyd.
It's at the Cancer Center, right?
Yes, and so that's going to be going on today. Also, we'll have an interview with him, and we're going to air next week. But he's got a lot of other things going on for this area, plus the reverse osmosis budget. I can't even say it. John's
Osmosis.
here laughing.
Yes.
It's easier to spell it than say it.
I would argue against that.
Okay. But that budget has been approved for the first phase of that, so we can try to clean the drinking water up.
And
out
just
of
to tell you that Rome really is kind of ahead of the curve on this. Of course, this was something that was kind of forced on us with the health advisory in 2016 regarding the PFAS, and don't ask me to make the whole pronunciation. Yeah. So they're working on this reverse osmosis plant, and around this time, the EPA is considering a new draft regulation, and the thought is the health advisory was 70 parts per trillion. And there are those that believe that when this regulation comes out, it's going to be 4 parts per trillion.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, I think the prevailing, goal right now is any.
Yeah.
Right, so 4 parts per trillion. It kind of gets to that point. Like any of this chemical in your water supply, has potentially dangerous. And let's remember these are chemicals that were introduced into the water upstream from, according to a lawsuit filed by the city of Rome, the carpet companies up in Dalton, Whitfield County.
All right, we'll follow these stories,
Yeah.
gentlemen. Got a break? Good talking with you. Good session here, and this will be posted on our website a little bit later on today. You can review it and laugh along with us later. Have a great day. It's 8:55
now.